Hello and welcome to another edition of Daily Draft Analysis Fantasy Results Show. I'm your host, JBlaze39. You can find me on Twitter at JBlaze39. And what we do here is just go through each matchup. Pretty straightforward. Just kind of break it all down and see if we can find some hidden gems and do our lineups, put our lineups together for tomorrow or for this weekend. So, we're going to go through and talk about different plays I like, various matchups that need to be talked about, some strategy for tournaments versus cash. That's kind of what I do. So, just pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't throw a lot of technical numbers at you. It's more research based, and I just kind of give out my my analysis on what I'm reading and what I find is the best tools to use to build your lineup properly. So it's week 8, and we've already had the Thursday night game, which really was no contest. Anyway, based on what I've been hearing is some of the picks have been helping our members, and we're just continuing to try to grow and piece by piece, get this thing going. Like I said, this is a growing site, and dailydraftanalysis.com, and we'll just, it's just no frills type of education here. We'll just tell it like it is. So let's get to it. First game we're gonna go is. It's a London game. It's actually kind of a mismatch, if you ask me. You got the Minnesota Vikings, at the Cleveland Browns, playing in London. The point spread is 37.5. Vikings are favored by 9.5. And it's on paper, it looks like a huge mismatch. Cleveland is technically the home team in this, so they're going to have more distractions, more media obligations, which seems kind of funny because, what kind of things can you talk about an 0-7 team? So, but there's talent on both sides. But I think the way this is going to play out is the London games have been higher scoring usually. So I think this is going to play to the over just a little bit. But, I could see a scenario where it's 27-15 game, 17 game, 27-20, something like that. I do like the Vikings. The main plays on this game, I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. The main plays on this game, if anybody's playing this slate, because this isn't part of the main Millionaire Maker slate on DraftKings. This is part of the Sunday Monday slate, they have a full 11 game slate that includes the Sunday night games too. So this is going to be Minnesota defense is going to be the chalk for obvious reasons. They got the number one rush defense. They're going up against a team that just can't move the ball, and they just lost their left tackle. So the only plays on it, there's three plays in this that I would recommend. Minnesota defense, if you want to go with cash and chalk, and then pair it up with the Adam Thielen or Kyle Rudolph, or even this game sets up more towards Jerick McKinnon because of the style of running he does. And Latavius Murray kind of had a decent game last week, but it was a different style of run. He's more of a up the middle type of running back, and the Browns have a good nose tackle that Dan Sheldon is the nose tackle that's pretty good against the run. He kind of shuts down those type of lanes. So I like the outside runs with McKinnon. So you could go Minnesota defense and McKinnon or Rudolph. If you really want to get contrarian, you could do Case Keenum and Adam Thielen. Kyle Rudolph. The Browns have been terrible against the tight ends this year. So that's the way I would go. Now, moving forward to the next game, we'll move to the noon games. Now, we're going to start with the Bears, Chicago Bears, going into New Orleans to take on the Saints. It's got a pretty high total here. It's 47.5, and New Orleans is favored by 9, a team total of 28 versus 19. And this scene, it's Drew Brees at home, but the Bears defense seems to play teams pretty tough, and they kind of muck it up a little bit. So they tend to play to the under on this. I'm a little nervous about this one. On paper it shows that you can load up on your Saints. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn, Kamara, Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram I like a lot. And he's also going to be very chalky. I do like the Saints defense in this. Yeah, they give up some stats. They give up some points. But I think if you really wanted to think outside the box on this one, here's something to consider in a large field GPP. Now, there is nobody going to be on the Chicago at all. If you wanted to go with Jordan Howard and Chicago defense, that could be an angle that could work. Or if you really wanted to get crazy, you could go with Mitch Trubisky and pair him up with Zach Miller and hopefully have that breakout game. Now, after having only thrown 7 passes last week, there ain't going to be anybody that's going to look at this. But here's something to consider. Look at the point total. The point total was 47.5. There's something to that. The Saints defense isn't that good. It's an opportunistic defense, but it's not a shutdown defense. So I think there could be, and Chicago's going to have to play a different style to keep up. And this could benefit Miller. It could benefit Tariq Cohen. Now, that's depending on the game flow, how this pans out. If it pans out of where it's just a running dominated game, you could use Jordan Howard and Chicago defense. I could see that. I could see that working well, actually. So, and that combination is going to set you apart and afford you some other pieces in some other contests. So that's something to consider. So, that's about all I got for that game. I do like Drew Brees this week. I do like Michael Thomas. I'm a little nervous about it though. It just seems too good on paper, and usually that's when it seems too good to be true. It usually is going to be a letdown. So just keep an eye on that. Now the game that I really like as a game stack that not a lot of people are going to be on fully because of the history of the recent bias of these two teams, and that's the Atlanta Falcons going into New York to face the Jets. It's a pretty high total with 4 to 6 points. The Falcons are favored by 4 with a team total of 25. Well, the Jets have been a different team, a difficult team to kind of predict this year. They're more competitive than we thought, with a bunch of no-name guys, really. Now, what I might do on this one is stack it up. I might stack this game. Maybe do let's see here. Do a Josh McCown and Austin Seferian-Jenkins, and then come back with I guess you go Julio Jones, but he's not really doing much. But then this could be a case where he breaks out. I think that hip, that he's got, the issue that he's got is affecting more than he's letting on. The guy I like is Dante Freeman in this game. Also don't sleep on Taylor Gabriel. He's going to get some looks. He's kind of the gadget guy, so there could be some trickery. Another guy for the Jets is Jermaine Kearse, and Robbie Anderson. Well, we don't know who's going to get the passes because McCown kind of spread it around. So something to consider is maybe going. I mean, he does like the tight end, so that much we know for sure. So he's been a top 10 quarterback, fantasy quarterback. McCown has in like 4 of the last 6 weeks. There's something to that. So don't, and that's. I mean, that's the guy that was, won the. It was in the millionaire lineup last week. So, and his price is still cheap. So you could go back to the well on this. And I mean, the Falcons can be, thrown on. So, that is something to consider there. From a ownership perspective, nobody. I haven't heard anybody talking about Matt Ryan, and you can go that way too, or go with Josh McCown. That's one of my. He's on my probably my top 8 list. Top 5 to top 8 list for quarterbacks to play this week in a tournament. So, yeah, and then so and the totals it's a pretty high total. So that's something to it's intriguing. So, all right, let's keep going here. We got let's see, what do we got next here? We got Buffalo and Oakland in Buffalo. Now, Buffalo is, I think, I think Buffalo's favored in this one. Let me double check. I get my computer screen here right here. Let's see here. Where was it? Here, there it is. Yeah, the Bills are favored by 2. Point total of 45.5. And this seems to me like a 20 first 1 to 20 wins type of game. The Bills limit teams to very limited offensive production. And Oakland has shown a propensity to not show up at times. Now, I also have a theory I talk about each week. It's not just my own, but I've had this theory for a long time, even before it became fashionable to talk about it. And that is teams from the West Coast going to the East Coast in the early 1 o'clock games. They usually don't play well. This game is going to be a lot of the point total. It's begging for a bit of a shootout. I just I see this as Buffalo. To be honest, Tyrod Taylor is one of my favorite quarterbacks this week. The past production shows that he's limited on the upside. I disagree with that because of his running ability, and I think he can throw some touchdowns to McCoy and this O'Leary tight end that's filling in for Charles Clay. And I think Jordan Matthews is back, and they like him. Also, Michael Crabtree on the other side. Now, the Raiders are going to be without Marshawn Lynch. And the Raiders can put up some points, but they can also throw in some duds. I like McCoy this week, paired up with the Buffalo defense. But I also like Michael Crabtree this week. So depends on how you want to take pieces from this game. This could be one of them. If you're building multiple lineups, this could be one of them sneaky game stack type of scenarios where you just go off the wall and play the crap out of this one. Now, what you could consider is doing a double stack of Taylor, McCoy, and Matthews. Or actually, what I would do is O'Leary, and then back it up with Crabtree. And then also Jalen Richard is going to take over for Marshawn Lynch. He can catch the ball also, so he's kind of the change of pace back. And then they got another guy named Washington. I think Denzel Washington, or one of those. He's more like the goal line back. Richard is the big play guy. So that's something to look at. That's all I got for that game. Now, it's actually Jared Cook could be in play here for the Raiders also as a receiver. Carr does like him. Now, one thing, Derek Carr's salary has gone down, so that's something to consider also. So, it's down to 6,500 on DraftKings, and 7,800 on FanDuel. So, it's only $200 more than Tyrod Taylor on FanDuel, but there's a big difference between him and Taylor on DraftKings, where Taylor's at 5,900. Well, there's some savings there, with Taylor. So now there's a sneaky guy here. He just signed with the team for the Bills, Deontay Thompson. Now, a few weeks ago, I touted him with the Bears. Before he got released, I don't know, he got released somehow. But he was the kick returner and all that for the Bears. And he's got some potential. And they're starving for receivers there. If you want an outside the box guy, he could be a sneaky punt play. Just saying. It's high risk, but it could pay off huge because nobody will be on him. So, and that's what you want. You want that one guy, that diamond in the rough, that you get on him before everybody else gets on him. So, all right, let's move on to the next game. Next game looks like a blowout on paper. Indianapolis going to Cincinnati, face the Bengals. Bengals are favored by 10. Point total of 41.5. Team total of 25 versus 15 for the Colts. Now, a lot of people are going to be on this. Cincinnati defense is going to be chalky. AJ Green's going to be chalky. One thing I will throw at you here is what you could do is take Andy Dalton, pair him up with Brandon LaFell, and like a double stack of AJ Green. Brandon LaFell's got like 9 red zone targets this season already. So they look to him in the red zone. That's something to think about. So another thing is Joe Mixon is getting a lot of touches also, and this could be a Joe Mixon Cincinnati defense type of game. Another guy to consider here is Marlon Mack. He's kind of the backup, kind of the receiving back for Indy, especially on DraftKings. They like those receiving backs. He could be in catch-up mode, and he could be getting some targets, just like what's his name? Theo Riddick from Detroit. It's in that same type of mold. So that's something to look at. You could use Jack Doyle for the Colts. Tyler Kroft is an underpriced tight end that's going to be low owned, and because he doesn't have that sexy name, like Gronkowski or Reed or Graham. He's not mentioned in that group at all. So you're going to get him at a discount, and this could be a scenario where this is a week you could potentially use the tight end as a flex player, like a double tight end type of strategy. So that's one way of looking at things. I don't usually recommend using a tight end in the flex, but based on value and the way, especially on DraftKings, the way they price things, I could see that happening. And then T.Y. Hilton's kind of the main guy, for Brissett. So there is a chance of a game flow going the over and having this turn into a shootout where you got Brissett and Hilton going off, and then Andy Dalton and AJ Green going off. It's going back and forth. So you could stack this game up, and it could work. Excuse me, I had to take a drink of water. Let's move on to the next one. Actually, let's take a break here, and I'll come back, and we'll keep going with these games here. Again, you're listening to the Fantasy Results Show at dailydraftanalysis.com. I'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back. This is the Daily Draft Analysis Fantasy Results Show. I'm your host, JBlaze39. And we can pick it back up here at the next matchup here. It's Carolina Panthers going into Tampa to face the Buccaneers. This game is it started off at 44 point total, and it's since went to 46, but it went from 2.5 to 1.5 in favor of Tampa Bay. Well, it's I like this game for the potential. This game could go a couple different ways. This game, if it goes into a shootout, this is the game to stack. On both sides, because you're going to have these teams know each other very well, and neither defense is all that great. So what you could do is go with Cam Newton and pair him up with who I'd pair him up with is probably Christian McCaffrey. Maybe Funches. If you want to go outside the box, go with Ed Dickson. And I don't like Kelvin Benjamin this week. I don't know why. I know the stats say that Tampa's bad against number one receivers, but of course he's Kelvin Benjamin. He could break out. So I just don't feel right about it. So there's something doesn't. I don't know. I don't trust it. So play at your own risk there. On Tampa's side, I like Winston. He puts up stats no matter what. Even in garbage time. So I know he's dealing with that AC joint, but that's just a pain tolerance thing. So I mean, he could still throw up 300 yards. And if he does, I want pieces of Mike Evans, and also Doug Martin. And actually, I'm going back to the well of that O.J. Howard. I think they found something with him last week. They finally let him out on some routes instead of just having him block. I think they're going to open it up for him. I think last week was the guy's got talent, so. It could be a matchup problem for Carolina. So, I don't like either defense. Deshaun Jackson is in play for Tampa Bay. And even Adam Humphries as a punt play could be. Let's move on to the next game. It's San Francisco going to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. This is another West Coast to East Coast early start. What I see happening here is Carson Wentz is going to be very chalky this week. He's the number one, that everybody's talking about this week. So for cash, yes, you can go with him. But what I see happening, if you're going to use Wentz, pair him up with Aguilar, or Ertz. Aguilar has kind of taken over the number one spot for receivers. So, Alshon Jeffrey is still in there, but he's kind of dropped off a little bit recently. But what I would do in this, take any pieces of this game. I mean, the point totals went down from 48 down to 45, but yet the spread has went up from 11.5 to 12.5 in favor of Philly. So what I would do, that just screams defense. And if you're going to use the defense, I could see this being a LeGarrette Blount type of game where they just they just ground and pound the whole time, and they get off to a big lead, then they just ground and pound it. And we saw Elliott, score like 3 touchdowns last week. So there's a chance, Philly could, with Blount this could be a Blount game. So, so yeah, it's that's something to consider. Let's see here. Moving on. Here, I'm gonna take a quick break here, and I'll be back for the rest of the games here. Welcome back. We'll finish off the rest of the contest here. We got next game. We got the LA Chargers going into New England to face the Patriots. Now, on paper, this looks like it's got the second highest point total for the week. Let's see here. Where was I? I just had it. There we go. 48.5. And Patriots are favored by 7.5. Team total 28. Now, one thing of course, anytime you go against, Brady at home, your odds of winning aren't very good. But, and this is also another West Coast team going east. A 1 o'clock start. But the Chargers have traditionally have done well, actually, with that for some reason. And it's just another game for them, because even when they're at home, they don't even feel like they're at home. So they're used to playing in front of nobody cheering for them. So, an interesting stat that I saw this week is, although Tom Brady is like a matchup-proof guy, but it should be noted that each of the last 6 quarterbacks that have faced the Chargers have finished with a QB 16 or lower ranking for that week, and that's where the Chargers' strength is against the pass. But they're also 27th against the run. So this could be a running game. Now the Patriots guys that are always in play is the usual guys. The Gronkowski is always in play, but he's always a risk, too. And then you got Brandon Cooks, Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola. Of course, then you got James White as the pass catching back on the backfield. Now, there's something to consider here. Dion Lewis from the Patriots has gotten a lot more touches since he's come back. He started off last month at like 5 touches. Now he's up to 14 touches a game. So that's an interesting stat because Mike Gillislee, his stats have went down. He's supposed to be the ground and pound, type of guy, and he's not getting it done. So Dion Lewis is getting more and more carries, and he's producing. That's an interesting stat that I like, especially against a leaky run defense. I like Dion Lewis this week a lot. Now the pass catchers for the Patriots, of course, they're going to be going up against Casey Hayward and Trevor Williams. Brooks and Cooks and how Hogan will be. That's not a matchup that I want to exploit. Where I want to go is Danny Amendola. He's going up against a rookie and out of the slot. There could be a lot of fantasy goodness there in a PPR specific role. Now, on the other side, Keenan Allen is going to be the guy that's going to get peppered with targets. The Patriots have given up the most passes to number 1 receivers this year, and that's interesting. They've already allowed 96 receptions, and the second most yards, 1,400 yards in 7 games. So, and actually 11 different receivers have cleared 65 yards against New England. Now, the guys I like in this one is Keenan Allen for the Chargers. Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and Travis Benjamin. I think Belichick's going to take away Melvin Gordon, even though he's going to get the opportunity. But I don't like the matchup. I think there's better options on the board. So even though the Gordon's, the run defense is leaky against the Patriots also, but they've been getting better. And the last couple of weeks they've kind of found their way a little bit here. So it's something to consider. One thing, Gordon's a little dinged up. And this is just a side note. I don't know if this is going to come to fruition. This is something to look at and monitor. But Gordon's dinged up. So and this rookie Austin Eckler is cutting into the touches. So and he's averaging more yards per carry. So there could be something here. I don't know if this is the week to use it, but it's something to consider going forward with the Chargers. So, now Phillip Rivers has been he's been a top 16 results guy, for 6 of the last 7 starts. And he's had top 10, 12 finishes in 5 of 7 starts. So, excuse me. Now, this is going to be a higher scoring game. It always is between these two teams. I could see this being a 35. I think this is going to go to the over. I think this is going to be a 35 31 game. 35-28 game. Something like that. I think that there could be some fantasy goodness in this one. And a guy to consider possibly is Mike Williams. He started playing two games ago, and his usage is increased, while Tyrell Williams has went down. Here's a caveat for you: if you're gonna use this, if you're gonna play this game, take a chance on Travis Benjamin. He may not get a whole lot of passes. He's kind of like the home run hitter. It's like all or nothing. He's not going to get a lot of targets, but he can beat you deep. Plus, you can double dip because he is the punt returner also, so he can help the defense as well. So that there's a couple different avenues there for him to score touchdowns, and I like that in a tournament setting. So that's something to consider. So hey, stack it up if you want. That's where one of the games I'll go to. Now let's move on to the 4 o'clock games, or 3 o'clock, I guess, in the Central. Houston at Seattle. Now it's looking like this game has had some movement on the total. It went from 42 to 45. I think this is a game, from a strategy for tournaments perspective, this is a game, if you stack it up and it plays out a certain way, it turns into a shootout, you're gonna rocket up to the leaderboard, because both defenses, a lot of people are gonna be scared away from these guys, because of the reputations of each defense. So what you could do is take Deshaun Watson, pair him up with Hopkins and Will Fuller, and then come back with Baldwin and possibly Tyler Lockett. Maybe Jimmy Graham is in play. It's Ryan Griffin might be in play for, and also Dante Foreman. I guess Lamar Miller, but I mean, it's just in a game flow like that. Depends on what kind of game flow you're thinking it's going to be. You could build a couple different lineups. You could do mix and match with Russell Wilson, and then build another one with Deshaun Watson. So you could go on both sides of this and really stack it up. I wouldn't be opposed to a double stack on it, like a whole game stack on this one, because this is the type of thing where if it hits, you're going to win a GPP. It's an all or nothing type of strategy, but in a large field GPP, it could work. So, just also one thing to consider with the Tyler Lockett is he returns kicks too, so that helps the defense also. So you he could get more than one touchdown that way. So that's something something else to look at, just like I mentioned with Travis Benjamin for the Chargers. So this is one of my favorite. The point total, it's decent, but it's not the highest. So it might fly under the radar a little bit here. So now the next game. See, we got 3 games left. That's it. Wow, a lot of teams on bye this week. We got Dallas going into Washington. From a cash perspective, this is a game. You could stack up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take for cash Dak Prescott and pair him up with Zeke Elliott. And then bring it back with Jordan Reed. There is some risk there with Reed because of his injury history. Chris Thompson's in play for the Redskins. He's a GPP only play. Receivers for the Redskins are Josh Dotson and Jamison Crowder. I like Dotson a lot this week, but he's going to be very chalky because a lot of people are touting him as a new number 1 receiver there. That is something to, if you want to get off the chalk, you could go with Crowder instead. You could also go with Cole Beasley, Jason Witten. You could also go with let's see here. I think Rob Kelly is playing, and that could be an interesting play. The point total is 48. Started off at 51. There's going to be a lot of people on this game. A lot of people. So this is the chalky game. So, just play it safe with this one, in tournaments. The punt play of Chris Thompson. I hate to say this, but what's his name? Terrell Pryor actually could be a punt play this week. Under the radar guy, because he's not the shiny new toy that Josh Dotson is, and so he's kind of a forgotten guy. So you could go to him, and it could pay off big. This could be his breakout. You never know. That is a scenario that we could look at. Now, let's move on to the last 2 games here, the primetime games. Pittsburgh going into Detroit. Pittsburgh's favored by 3. Point total of 46. And of course, this is Roethlisberger on the road. Against a pretty decent Lions defense. Now, the Lions are going to be, I think without Golden Tate, and he's questionable right now. I don't know if he's going to play. They might have to check on that. But even if he does, if he does, he's going to play. So one story on here is on Pittsburgh side. Martavius Bryant he's going to be told he's going to be inactive for this week. Now, what that tells me is, of course, Antonio Brown's going to be, okay, first things first when it comes to this game. Le'Veon Bell is in play, big time. He's the bell cow. I mean, you get most running backs, average 18, 20, targets or snaps. He's averaging 36, touches basically. You got to play him. Pay up in both scenarios. It's but what this does is I'm gonna end up playing, because Bryant's gonna be inactive. I'm gonna look at taking this rookie, this Juju Smith-Schuster, putting him in a few lineups. Also, the guy that's taking Bryant's place is Justin Hunter. I'm sure he's min-priced. You could take a flyer on Justin Hunter. He hasn't done anything yet. But this could be a scenario. He does have speed, so this could be an interesting play. So, Brown's gonna, Antonio Brown is like matchup proof basically, so he's always in play. But another guy I like is Vance McDonald, the new tight end they got from San Francisco. He's kind of taken over. He's been cutting into, Vance McDonald has been cutting into Jesse James snaps the last few weeks, and Roethlisberger seems to like him. He may only catch 4 or 5 passes, but he's getting opportunity in the red zone also. Now on the Lions side, I like Abdullah, Stafford. I like Pittsburgh's defense on this game. Now, another guy to take a flyer on is T.J. Jones from a PPR perspective. Looks like Kenny Galladay is going to be out again, and Marvin Jones could be in play. Theo Riddick could be in play for if they get behind by a lot, and they're playing catch up. So I like both defenses in this game also. So I usually default to the home team defense. So if you need some salary relief, go with the Lions. That could work. Let's move on. Next game. It's a Monday night game. Chiefs at home against Denver. All I'm gonna say about this game is, I like the Chiefs in this, because they're at home. I like Kareem Hunt is in play, but he's lower your expectations because the rush defense is pretty good. But the Chiefs are a different team, so they're a different animal. So they can score in many different ways. Tyreek Hill is in play. He could be a sneaky play. Travis Kelce is the guy to go to. If you're looking for a one-hit, type of play, you could go with DeAnthony Thomas to break one, or Charcandrick West could be in play to snipe some touchdowns from Hunt. So, and on the Denver side, I like Demaryius Thomas, and let's see here, who else? Maybe a Fowler, Benny Fowler. Fowler has logged 83% of the snaps with Sanders out. So, he could be worth a look. He's going up against Phillip Gaines in the slot. And he's ranked pretty low in Pro Football Focus grading system. So, he could be a sneaky play right there. But Jamal Charles, this could be a revenge game. I could see him getting a lot of targets and opportunities. So that's something to consider. I like that angle. What I see happening here is Charles getting 2 touchdowns against his old team. He may only do it on 15 carries or 12 carries, but he's gonna have an impact in this game. I don't like C.J. Anderson. I don't know. I just don't. He let me down way too many times. So, I guess Simeon's always in play because, he's shown that, the Chiefs defense has given up, plenty of points to quarterbacks. But I just don't think this is going to happen this week. So, if you want, it'll be low owned. So, but anyway, that's all I got for the matchups. Now, when you're constructing these lineups, just consider what type of lineup you're looking for. If you're looking for safety, for cash, go with the main plays that I laid out. I also laid out some of the riskier plays, so the home run hitters, the GPP only guys. So just keep that in mind. If you need salary relief, just to take a punt on someone, just go with some. You got to have a higher floor with some safety. That's the way I like to play. In big tournaments, go nuts. Just you can take your safety and then throw in a couple of those punts and hope those punts pay off. And if those punts pay off, you're gold. So that's what I got this week, and let's go win some money. Hope you have a good week. Thanks.